I'm sure we're going to see the who's who of socialists and right-wing populist dipshits who have long advocated for trade restrictions and tariffs, protectionist tariffs and regulations. We know they're going to try to blame this baby formula shortage on unfettered capitalism. Woo! Another issue I want to talk about today is baby formula. I know I just put out 2 videos on this topic, but I remember in one of those videos, I think I mentioned that we're probably going to see the who's who of anti-capitalist dipshits try to blame the baby formula shortage on unfettered capitalism. Woo! And it turns out I was not entirely wrong. The internet's favorite communist, Hassan Piker, said something along the lines of, capitalism is so wild that 4 companies control all baby formula and the stuff they make overseas is not allowed to be sold here, even though EU standards are higher. So when one plant is shut down to avoid an FDA investigation, everything collapses. I honestly can't tell if he honestly believes in this gobbledygook. Really? This is capitalism? Is the government locking out international competition that would make this less of a crisis, make this shortage less of an issue? Really? Wasn't just Hassan Piker. Sam Cedar over at the Majority Report put up this video titled, "Explain Why the Baby Formula Shortage is a Capitalist Disaster." Now, in the video, they don't really blame capitalism directly or explicitly. Maybe this is just lazy titling on behalf of whoever put the title on this video. But let's check this out.
Actually, we have, I don't know, I guess what you call secular supply issues just in general with stuff. But the big story in terms of the baby formula is that the FDA had shut down in, I guess, February.
The FDA shut down?
The one of the biggest of 2 manufacturers of baby formula in the country. And the problem is, oh, okay, I should amend that. They didn't shut down the Abbott facility. Abbott shut it down as opposed to addressing immediately the problems that the FDA found with the production facility that Abbott was using.
All right, so I think this whole debate about whether or not Abbott voluntarily shut it down or whether the FDA shut it down, I think it's splitting hairs. Even this article on Newsweek, this fact-check article, did the FDA shut down Abbott's baby formula factory? Even the conclusion in this article, which is taking a minute to load, it says it's half true, it's mixed. It's kind of hard to tell. It's like a chicken and egg. Abbott may have decided to shut it down, but they were also under pressure by the FDA, who may have shut it down anyway. There's also a debate about whether or not, they're going to get into this, whether or not the formula was responsible for the bacterial outbreaks that infected babies.
2 babies died.
But I guess you could say, if we're going to have an FDA, maybe this is a proper rule. If it turns out that there is a plant that makes stuff like baby formula, and it turns out that it may not be completely sanitary and on the up and up, maybe the FDA does have a role in inspecting it and making sure that the product comes out safe.
From this formula, Similac, I think it is, that Abbott makes. And the FDA, not frankly regulating this industry enough.
Yeah, they don't regulate them enough. They definitely regulate, though, but definitely not enough. I feel like this is what Sam Cedar is. He's this meme I made a couple years ago. Like this one, the pajama boy. Oh, you don't like socialism, huh? Do you like Social Security, Medicare, roads, public schools, the FDA, the EPA, the minimum wage, child labor law. See, we already practically have socialism in America. Let's have more socialism. But then, when something bad happens, when there's some consequence, when there's some crisis, whether it's the financial crisis, the Flint water crisis, coronavirus, the subsequent panic and lockdowns, the trillions of spent money to rescue the economy, or in this case, if it's a baby formula shortage, then it's all because we have unfettered, unregulated capitalism.
There's two major ones. I'm looking for my notes here. And Abbott is one of them. But the problem with Abbott is their business is not just baby formula.
That's the problem with Abbott.
They have a bunch of other businesses. And so...
yeah, they sell other products. I guess that's the problem. If you're a company, you're only allowed to produce like one line of products, apparently.
They don't need to address these problems. They can shut it down.
Mm-hmm. And apparently... what,
because
so
it's not their only business.
Right. The two companies that dominate these sales are Abbott Labs, which creates, did you just say the Similac, the medical price, and the other one makes Lysol. So
and why do they dominate this field? A big reason for that, actually, they're going to get into it with the FDA, but a big reason for that, as I have talked about, is restrictions on international trade that essentially locks foreign competitors from places like Canada and the EU, European Union, out of the baby formula market. And you would think that even people like Sam Cedar would maybe make an issue of this, because it does seem like, from what I've read from people like Scott Lincecum, it seems to be a favor for the dairy industry, big corporations in America. They want to lock out competition. You would think like the corporate whistleblower types would be all over this.
They can take a hit here as opposed to, like actually.
But the real problem is they sell other products, so they can just shut down a plant and tell all the consumers of baby formula to screw off.
Fixing the issue.
Right. It's Reckitt Benckiser, Kaiser.
Whatever.
They make Enfamil. I don't know why they have these baby formulas like named like they're some type of Gargamel.
They should be named so babies can say them. But.
So Abbott has this big facility in Sturgis, Michigan. 2 babies died. 2 others were sickened by bacteria. Abbott took a large amount of the product off the market and shut the plant. And apparently, the FDA makes it very hard for companies to break in.
Makes it very hard for companies to break in. So not only do we have restrictions on international competition, but apparently the FDA, and I believe this because I've been studying the FDA a lot over the last 1 to 2 years, is, they do keep competition out of the market. So can we really blame this on, can we really call this a capitalist disaster?
Because this is, in many respects, more of a medical product than food. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
But what
that's good. It keeps competition out of the market.
they don't do is it makes it, they don't make it...
But it's capitalism's fault, you guys.
They make it too easy for them to stay in. Inspections, according to David
Make it too easy to stay in?
Dayan, are lax, given the state of the Sturgis
So it should be hard to get in, but easy to... I don't know.
plant. Apparently, when regulators showed up there was literally like standing water in the plant, and also multiple pockets of some type of bacteria. The other problem is that
the FDA keeps competition out of the market because, if we had it more of a free market, if it were easier to get in, like say like Amazon wanted to get into making their own brand of baby formula, like Amazon Basics baby formula. I mean, they might just cut corners and put a crappy, dangerous baby formula product on the market on Amazon, which again has a lot of customer reviews. For those who've never been on Amazon, they have a lot of customer reviews. That's one of the features of Amazon's website. They might put out a dangerous product that kills and infects a bunch of babies. And that will keep Amazon in business. We got to stop that stuff from happening.
WIC, which is the Women, Infants, and Children program that supports women and children in food.
Yeah, it's a welfare program.
It has an exclusive deal with Abbott. And the idea is that they get reduced prices for WIC, but it also gives them a lot more shelf space.
So we have a welfare program that also serves as somewhat of a kickback to companies like Abbott. And again, this is capitalism's fault, apparently. It's a capitalist disaster.
In the supermarkets.
Right.
And so it gives them a big competitive advantage. And they end up being the monopoly supplier for WIC.
Yeah, so we have a welfare program whose strings attached, creates somewhat of a monopoly in baby formula. And it's capitalism's fault.
And so to the extent that there is a monopoly, it's only in the context of WIC.
Which isn't so unusual, though. I mean, there's the alternative is some markets might, I mean, it's a government contract, essentially.
It's a government contract. The alternative is give the money to, do it on the recipient side.
Of course.
Rather than say, or make it.
Here I actually don't disagree with Sam. Yeah, if we're going to have welfare programs, just cut people checks and don't have all these bullshit hoops to jump through and strings attached that give favors to big corporations because you're forcing them to sell their product at a loss, at a discount. So then you have to promise them more shelf space and whatnot. It's a big problem with a lot of welfare programs in this country. They often come with all these terms and conditions, which often distort pricing mechanisms, make everything convoluted, make people reliant on one brand, one producer, one manufacturer of a certain product. And so if that company has a little bit of trouble, then the consumers are going to have a little bit of trouble.
It applicable to all of them. But it's really, you give the money on the recipient side.
Either way, I guess it's capitalism's fault.
Is the way to do it.
Right.
And so when the Abbott recall happened, the 34 states where Abbott had a near monopoly, because there's only 2 now big manufacturers of it, suffered the most acute shortages. Iowa, Missouri, North Dakota, South Dakota, Tennessee, and Abbott are WIC states. In March, the USDA...
Kind of reminds me of how people complain about Walmarts and how they're a drain on taxpayers. They're costing taxpayers money because I guess a lot of their employees end up getting government assistance of one form or another. It's like, I don't think Walmart went to Congress demanding all of these welfare programs. I think a lot of these welfare programs predate the rise of Walmart. Walmart really didn't start until 1967, and even then, that was like around the same time Medicare and Medicaid got passed. If you're going to have welfare programs, I assume it applies to all low-income individuals. What difference does it make whether or not that low-income worker works at a mom-and-pop liquor store or whether they work at a big corporation like Walmart?
Because they deal with all the food.
It's like people like this, they'll demand certain welfare programs, and then they'll blame the corporations that the programs are a quote-unquote cost to taxpayers.
Food stamps and those programs.
And that same sort of mentality, I think, ultimately drives a lot of these strings attached, like forced discounts and whatnot.
Tore down the monopoly, allowing WIC parents to be rebated for non-contract products. So you could also access different size of products too, which is a much better way of doing it, although it adds, again, more administration.
But there's still a shortage.
There's still a shortage because Abbott has not come back online.
I had a breakfast just now, right before I came here, and the guy who was serving us, who owned the restaurant, was on the phone with his wife, and his wife's in tears because they couldn't get baby formula. And I saw this trick. I'm not sure if it works, but I guess if you go on Amazon and click Canada instead of the U.S.
Yeah, the new NAFTA deal is what put restrictions on Canadian baby formula. Way to go, guys!
You can still, this is a U.S. shortage, partly because of this contract. So I guess you can order from Canada and it'll ship if they still have availability in Canada now because extra pressure.
Yep.
But it's also a logistics issue because apparently, according to the FDA, there were more sales in April than there was pre the recall of Similac. But the problem is it's not distributed across the country, these sales, because again, it is there are these two companies that basically dominate the area, and Abbott had basically control over certain parts of the country. So and apparently, according to Day, and maybe we'll get somebody on to go through this too, because
Get Scott Lynch to come on.
the WIC monopoly ends up
Probably get some fucking commie goof like Richard Wolff.
costing middle-class parents more. And so we create these mechanisms because we're so afraid of just providing support for people. And we create these mechanisms that are
These mechanisms were created in the name of helping support people.
ostensibly to inhibit, giving money to people who don't deserve it. But all it does is it ends up hurting them and other people.
Mm-hmm. And having fair wages and not forcing people to have babies. Let's also start with that. It's not just that we don't have the ability to help those in need. We don't provide the infrastructure so that people are not in need.
Yes, but we could also just say, like, okay, we could just provide them money instead of
We
having
could also free up the economy. But no, that's too much capitalism. Can't have that.
a program that is designed to make sure that they spend it in a very, very specific way. The idea that, like, well,
And yeah, I don't think welfare programs, I don't think they should come with these strings attached. I remember a few years ago, I think it was like reported that like Texas was making it illegal for people to spend food stamps on energy drinks like Red Bull. And like I saw conservative goofs like Tommy Lahren celebrating it like it was a big victory. Like, idiot, if someone on welfare is spending money on Red Bull, chances are they're using that to maybe look for a job or go to a job interview. You ever think about that?
you're gonna have poor people out there. They're gonna buy TV sets and they're not gonna buy food for their kids. That's not gonna happen. I'm sure it's gonna happen in one case, but it happens regardless of whether they're on a program or not.
I don't think any mother is going to buy a TV. I would say 0 cases.
100%.
I can't imagine any mother
But
getting
they
that
use
money.
that justification to get rid of redundancy and to ration these kinds of necessary products to keep corporations happy. And then it's like, we pretend like there's some sort of
It's also because they're
grift
afraid to.
that's happening.
They're also afraid to do it politically
Yeah.
because they're going to get criticized for helping too many people or something.
But look, the chickens come home to roost in those instances. It always bites Democrats when they half step or quarter step or eighth step like this because they're already running on this. We just showed I don't think it's going to last that long. Who knows how effective it is? But Elise Stefanik was already, blaming the Biden administration for it. So,
And the pedos, to be fair.
Yeah.
well, they're the one pedo, obviously.
And think about if you live in a food desert on top of this, so you can't get access to it. You're trying to find
Yeah, why do we have food deserts? Could it be anything to do like with stories I've read over the last couple years about how we have hero pay in places like LA and Long Beach, which resulted in the shutdown of some Kroger locations? Or how about when like a new Walmart is, when Walmart's planning on building a new store in an area, and then like the who's who of activist dipshits show up to protest to keep the Walmart out of the area. Wonder if that has anything to do with food deserts. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that.